everybody, Gannon here. Welcome back to another one of my Star Trek reviews, and just welcome back to the channel in general. This is a channel where I like to discuss things that I enjoy and also just film myself doing things that I enjoy, primarily science fiction. Today we are back at it again with another one of my Star Trek Picard reviews. Very sorry about not being able to get the review out last week. I was on vacation. I had a brilliant opportunity to go to Hawaii with my sister. She went there for work. I had a really good time. I went to the top of a mountain, tried my best to relax on a beach, but as it turns out, I kind of struggled to relax on vacation. I'm kind of like Captain Picard in that way, where I would much rather be piloting my starship instead of actually kind of like going on a vacation. Sometimes it makes me a little bit anxious, and I struggle to enjoy myself. But I'm back. I had a great time. You could probably tell I am messed up. I look trifling right now. My skin is peeling. I have like blisters on my nose and a big one on my lip that makes it swollen. I actually just had a really fun experience because I watched both the Picard episodes back to back, both episode 2, Disengage, and the latest episode, episode 3, 17 Seconds. I just had the greatest time of my life. We're 3 episodes in, and I'm thoroughly convinced, guys, that this is the best season of Picard, and dare I say, shaping up to maybe be the best season in all of the new Trek that I have seen yet. I've had too much fun. With all that being said, this review is going to be primarily a review for episode 3. In the interest of time, I'm not going to make a whole entire video about episode 2 because I just missed the window. It's an irrelevant topic at this point. I will be bringing up aspects of episode 2, and I will give it a quick rating at the end of the episode though, so this is going to be like a 2-in-1 special. With all that being said, let's get right into it. That I would like to mention before I get into explaining anything that happened in today's episode is that I saw a lot of commenters commenting about how they really didn't like Captain Shaw in episode 1, and I believe that that's definitely part of his design. He's meant to be an antagonist, somebody who's going to get in the way of the main characters, but in my opinion, in episode 1, he did it in the most brilliant way possible. I love Captain Shaw. After these 3 episodes have concluded, I think that Captain Shaw is almost the most reasonable person in the room right now. Sure, Captain Shaw in episode 1 was being hard on Picard and Riker, but honestly, when 2 guys just come to your ship and kind of try doing whatever they want, I would kind of be a little bit stern with them as well. I think the way that Captain Shaw shot down Picard and Riker and were kind of trying to foil their dishonest plans at first was a little bit amazing. It was kind of hard, and my only criticism is when he went really in on Picard and called him an ex-board. That wasn't very classy. But then we're later into these 3 episodes, and here Captain Shaw is making some of the coolest decisions among the entire cast. You have the Next Generation characters slowly returning back. Some really awesome things that have happened is that Worf came back in episode 2, explained what is going on with Raffi. There's so many great scenes with Worf and Raffi, and we also got a little flashback scene in a bar where we got to see a little bit of Deanna for the first time in this season. And I don't know if you guys have seen, AI technology is getting a little bit goofy right now. It's getting to the point where we can just go onto a program or a website and we can just impersonate any celebrity, and I've seen so many meme clips of Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and like Elon Musk playing Call of Duty together. And then we have the deepfake AI technology, which I love for so many reasons. It's given us so many dope scenes in science fiction recently. The Luke Skywalker scene in Mandalorian. There was also like the Captain Pike deepfake in season 1, and now we have the young Riker and younger Picard in that bar talking to each other about fatherhood, because it was revealed in season 1 of Star Trek Picard that Riker had actually lost his son Thaddeus, and now they only have their daughter Kestra. This was a topic that was brought up because it has now been officially confirmed in episode 2. Jack Crusher, if that is like his real name, because apparently he has a bunch of aliases. I'm pretty sure it's Jack. Basically Jack Jr. at this point, right? Is Picard's son. This is not a Jason Vigo situation, everybody. That is legitimately his son. The themes that revolve around Picard, his son, and Beverly in these 2 episodes that I've watched have damn near brought me to tears. I kind of have a shaky relationship with some of my family members historically, and there have just been some scenes in the season. For instance, when Raffi actually meets her husband in the Metalis Prime district, I'm pretty sure he was in some district. I don't know if it was on Metalis Prime. They do return to Metalis Prime. And another thing, I got 2 things wrong in my first initial review. Thankfully, I really do like the Star Trek community, and I do like the people who watch my videos, because when I do get things wrong, you guys are very polite and you're very encouraging in telling me what I did get wrong, and I'm very thankful for that. You guys don't really grill into me, and I will take responsibility when I do just say stuff that isn't correct. I've only seen Enterprise about 3 times. I believe I've seen it the least among all of the Star Trek shows. So I did forget that Metalis Prime actually did appear in Star Trek Enterprise originally. I kind of did forget that Terry Matalas actually had some influence on Star Trek Enterprise. So I did say that Metalis Prime did appear for the first time in Picard. I was incorrect. Second thing I do want to also make abundantly clear is that I made a comment about how Beverly Crusher shooting the enemies in the first episode, about how she just completely vaporized that one dude, how it wasn't very Starfleet-like, about how Starfleet doesn't use disruptors historically. And the reason I said this is basically there's one episode that really confused me and kind of influenced me to make that comment. It's a really uneducated comment, because if you actually take the time to look at what disruptors are in the Star Trek universe, there have actually been times when I believe the Federation has looked into creating disruptors, and they've even used like low-level disruptors before, but primarily the Federation uses phaser technology, okay? There have been alien species that we have met that have been super weak compared to the Federation, that have disruptors on their ship that don't do anything but just kind of tickle it. The reason I said that disruptors are like this exclusively really deadly weapon is because of that one TNG episode, Aquael, when there was vaporized remains on that space station, and the first thing that Captain Riker said, there was a very powerful weapon that did this. Could it have been a Klingon disruptor? And then also, I kind of had like a pipe dream moment. You guys might have to remind like what scene this was, but I remember there being a scene in Star Trek where they were looking at remains, and Worf or somebody had actually explained that the only way that that could happen was with like a Type 2 phaser on continuous blast. Hand phasers and even phaser rifles that the Federation used, to my knowledge, have never just been able to shoot somebody and absolutely delete them and vaporize them like the Romulan and Klingon disruptors do. I understand that in the TOS, Captain Kirk's phasers that they were doing have the ability to actually like vaporize people and things, especially it's been said that a phaser on max level setting, I think it's like 16 or 17, is able to vaporize solid rock. But at the same time, you guys have to give me a little bit of room here. Klingon disruptors and Romulan disruptors, when you shoot them, it's very similar to the T-type disruptor from that one TNG episode, The Most Toys, where it almost seems like you're deleted instantly. And when you go to like some of the most powerful phaser rifles used in Star Trek, like even the Dominion War, when they were shooting at the Jem'Hadar, they didn't get instantly vaporized. It's just not something that's like super Starfleet-like is what I was trying to say. But it's inaccurate to say that there's a distinction between phasers and disruptors, because honestly, if you look at all the disruptors that have shown up in the series, there have been really crappy low-level ones, and it's kind of inconsistent to make the claim that disruptors like actually perform in a certain type of way. It was just a wrong claim to make. And then another thing, I just need to beat myself on the head here, because it is very apparent to me that nobody from the TNG crew anymore, maybe like Nye, Geordi, LaForge, actually is Starfleet. Like, they are very much avoiding Starfleet. Even Admiral Picard is clearly a retired admiral, and he doesn't have the sway or the influence that he once had. Back to Captain Shaw. The best scene was when Captain Shaw actually took no time to relinquish command of the Titan and give it back to Captain Riker. I actually was like, yes, yes! Oh my gosh, that was so cool, getting to see Riker conveniently be returned to his old command. Everybody was like so here for it, but it was a little bit disappointing to see that Riker was playing it a little bit too safe, almost to a fault. And let's be honest here, I almost believe that if Riker agreed with Picard earlier in the episode to actually attack early, that maybe we wouldn't have had this situation where, you know, they're desperate. Picard's like, Will, we need to attack, we need to finally do it. And then he's like, fine, do it, fire with everything we got. And then this new villainous character, her name is Vadi, if that even is her gender, because it is actually revealed in this episode. Big spoiler, turn away now. This is the biggest spoiler of the episode. This is the thing that basically makes this season so amazing for me, is that changelings are back. The references to the Dominion War in Deep Space Nine are so big that me as a Deep Space Nine fanboy, I jumped out of my chair. I'm going crazy right now. The energy I have inside my body is just literally about to explode because this episode was sensational. The new faction, the enemies of this season, the Changelings. Like, we have, like, a terrorist group of Changelings that have cut off from the Great Link when Raffi and Worf are doing a whole bunch of scenes and they're going around and investigating after Worf saves Raffi from that one Ferengi on the Talos Prime. By the way, I know some people are, like, complaining that Worf, like, killed an unarmed Ferengi, but that wasn't an unarmed Ferengi. That Ferengi was, like, super willing to just murder Raffi. He is a dangerous thug, and he deserved to be killed. I feel like Worf has murdered people for much less than that, and I think that's pretty congruent with his character, especially because I just love the Worf I'm seeing so much on screen. You always get a little bit worried when there's a time skip for characters, how much that they can change from the character you used to love in that, like, 20-30 year span. I love everything I see from Worf, and there's just two things that I need to make this, like, the best season of Star Trek ever. One, we need Odo. We need a deep fake of Odo. We need Reen to be returned to the series in a live action format. He passed away within the last 3 years, I believe, and it would just be the biggest ode to Odo and his character to include that deep fake and actually bring him in the live action. It would honestly make me cry. Number 2, Alexander needs to be mentioned. And on top of that, if Alexander showed up at the end of the season, that would be another S+ tier thing to do. Clearly, we need a Beverly and Wesley meetup again, because I don't know if Beverly actually knows that Wesley is still alive. Season 2, it was revealed that Wesley is clearly now, like, almost the leader of the Watcher organization, and I don't know if Beverly knows that Wesley is still alive. Don't know where he is. I don't know if Wesley's allowed to even share that information with her at this point. These are just all things that I just think that can make this season so much better. With every new scene, I just love it so much more. I love how the Next Generation crew are acting, minus Will being a little bit too safe. When he got into command of the Titan, I feel like we could have had some cooler scenes. It was a little bit of a letdown, but it's okay. Remember what Riker said in this episode. We're humans. We're fallible, just like Picard. Even though, like, he was talking to Jack, like, Picard's your father. Fallible legend. Like, he is a legend, but we all have flaws. There's just something so human about the writing and the interactions. Picard, like, having the revelation that he has a son, and that conversation between him and Beverly, where he was basically saying that, Beverly, you stole the opportunity from me. You never gave me the chance to have a relationship with Jack. And I sympathized with both of their positions so much. Both of them made sense, but at the same time, no matter what, Picard really did deserve to know. He shouldn't have found out about this 20 years later. I think it's a little bit unfair of Beverly to not talk to the Next Generation crew for 20 years, but at the same time, I'm not that mad at her. I feel like it's justified. She's been out and trying to help the universe in the best way that she can. The villains are great. I love that they are actually, like, using changelings, and I also love the experimental weapon that they stole from the Daystrom Institute. It is literally like a portal gun that could be shot in space, you know, and that's kind of difficult to do because, like, in space there's nothing to hit. That technology has to, like, just kind of go and then activate in open space. And then the scenes where they had the Titan flying through it and ending up in a different place, I was like, this is Portal 2. This is such a really awesome and creative weapon for starships to use, and I honestly hope that this isn't the only time that we see this. I wish we could see a weapon like this later in the Star Trek series, because it is so cool. The Shrike is very awesome. I know they don't really look that similar, but the Shrike is very reminiscent of the Skimtar from Nemesis, even though they don't really look different. It's like the big baddie ship that's really juiced up and is full of weaponry that almost puts the main characters at a huge disadvantage. I love Captain Shaw. I'm going back to Captain Shaw because I'm just spieling all this out right now. Any thought that's popping in my head, I'm sharing it with you guys. Captain Shaw just has a lot of great scenes. He's hilarious, and as a person who loves to swear, I don't swear as much just because it's unsustainable to do on YouTube. I swear like a sailor, and Captain Shaw swearing is actually so awesome. Picard Season 1, we did see, like, some Admirals and some people who swore, and people are like, you shouldn't have swearing in Star Trek, it's really inappropriate. I don't agree with that at all. I feel like Captain Shaw is the character that I've been waiting for, and I respect the hell out of Captain Shaw for realizing that he's bodied and that he needs to prioritize his ship. He had no hesitation. He gave Riker the command of that ship immediately. The only thing that didn't really make sense to me was that, you know, for plot reasons, it had to be Commander Riker because it did used to be his ship. Picard does have senility, and he is, like, technically an admiral, so it kind of should have gone to Picard, right? I don't know. Don't know what they do in that situation. There's probably, like, a little mention in some written Starfleet manual about who would actually get the reins in that situation. There are very weird instances where captains do kind of get just a slightly bit of situational power over an admiral. Some really dope highlight scenes that I enjoyed. Remember how I kept on complaining about how I kind of feel like historically the Picard cast has been misused? I'm willing to forget about all of that because Rafi is clearly the star of that cast. The fact that she's still here, the fact that we're still talking about Gabe, the fact that we're meeting her ex-husband and how she's still developing, and how her resolve is so great. I kind of agreed with her in that situation, like, this isn't really the time to be, like, thinking about Gabe in that way. Her resolve was so strong. 117 people just died, and I don't know if Rafi's husband really knew that. He has a point, but at the same time, like, there's stuff bigger than what's going on between Rafi and Gabe. I understand that you should prioritize in attempt to fix that relationship eventually, but it was really unfair of him to make Rafi choose between meeting the Ferengi and kind of him putting in a good word with Gabe. I felt like that was really unfair to her. Her resolve in even, like, using drugs to try and obtain the confidence of that Ferengi, to me, that was just an insane scene. I've been a little bit depressed these past 6 months, and I've been kind of abusing substances. Like, I've been smoking and drinking a little bit too much, and it's something that I've only kind of started to address in the last month. So that's just, like, another thing that I am very much relating to with this show. I'm finding a lot of ways to relate. I just like it. It's kind of hitting me in my feels sometimes, and I really like when Star Trek does that, because Star Trek is one of the things that I love most of my life. I feel like there's a lot of characters in this show and a lot of instances that have given me guidance, and there are role models in the show that I could have never found in a real life setting. And when things like that happen in Star Trek, it reminds me of why I'm addicted to this show and why I constantly just rewatch reruns, and why I'm so passionate about it is because stuff like that, this stuff that really hits me as a person. Other shows with way bigger budgets, way bigger writing staff, way bigger entities have failed to do what Star Trek does in some of the most simple and cheap ways. And that's just why I love this show so absolutely very much. I think I shared all the things that really excited me. I'm sorry if I missed a couple things. I tried to include some information from episode 2 as well. I just watched them back to back. I'm sorry if this feels like it's a episode 3 and 2 review. I tried to focus on episode 3. Stuff from episode 2 definitely spieled out. These 2 scenes that I really love was when Jack and Beverly were actually helping out the injured crewmen of the Titan, showing us why Jack is actually Beverly's son. You could see that his compassion, his bedside manner, and his ability to sympathize with hurt people is unprecedented. And Beverly showing that she was the ex-chief of Starfleet Medical for an entire year at the very minimum. She is showing that chief medical officer what's up with the delayed internal bleeding. She's so dope. Beverly Crusher is very much far from my favorite Star Trek Doctor. In my opinion, I always get a little bit annoyed with how much I liked Dr. Pulaski, like, way more the single season she was there. That doesn't mean I still don't love Beverly Crusher so much. And she shined in this episode, and I love how the Next Generation members are popping up. Honestly, if there's going to be a version of them in their later years where they've made mistakes, they made slight flaws, at least I get to see these scenes where they actually legitimately grow. You look at Worf, he actually has changed so much. Really does seem wiser, more restrained. He seems to be such a better version of himself. Also, he's legitimately funny and cracking jokes, which is something that he only just started to do near the end of Deep Space Nine with Jadzia. I'm glad that he found the ability to joke and basically find enjoyment in his life again. That one scene where he's like, we do beheadings on Wednesdays, actually. That was brilliant. classic Klingon. Episode 3 gets a damn 8 out of 10 because it was so great. Changelings, those scenes that actually hit me in my feels. Episode 2, is it fair to give it like 6.57 out of 10? Just because I feel like I watched them both back to back, and I enjoyed both of them so much. Another scene I would like to quickly mention that I loved was that little scene between Geordi LaForge's daughter and Seven. She basically refers to her as Commander Seven. I thought that was so sweet. That was really heartwarming. Terry Matalas, the writers, are doing such a great job. The thing that will really make this an S+ season, though, that we actually have constant great writing and action from episode 1 to episode 10. Because as much as I loved season 2, there was just a little parts of it that were cringe, and there was an entire episode that I feel like just been rewritten and didn't exist and didn't really give much to the overall season. And that was the one when Gannon and Picard were basically like captured by the FBI and had to convince them to let them go. Like 2 or 3 scenes that I liked from that episode, but beyond that, I feel like that episode was kind of a mistake and a really big waste of time in the grand scheme of season 2. With all that being said, thank you guys so much again for tuning into another one of my Star Trek reviews. Content is coming. I've very much been struggling to make legitimate content outside of reviews for the longest time. It is because, like Worf, I have been taking time away to like learn about myself and learn how I could actually become a better person in more healthy ways. So I'm going to be listening to my heart a lot more, and hopefully I'm going to be making the content that I want to be making here very soon. Had a very good time on vacation. Had a very good time reading your comments. Please leave as many comments as you want down in my comment section. They are my favorite thing about this platform. I love hearing your guys' opinions. If you enjoy any of the content that you see on my channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe, slap a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And with all that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper, everyone. By the way, look at how dope this shirt is. My sister actually bought this shirt for me. It's a Budweiser shirt from 1993. It's like way older than me, and the chameleons wrap around the side. This is like clearly the coolest shirt I own now. It's going to be hard to top this one. I love this shirt.